WADR, promoting dialogue.
Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to NEWSLINK. Here are the top stories. The Senegalese government dissolves the most influential opposition political party after incarcerating its leader, Sonko. Bamako and Ouagadougou threaten withdrawal from ECOWAS if military force is deployed in Niger. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu outlines a series of immediate interventions to revitalize.
Is working closely with states and local governments to implement interventions that will cushion the pains of our people across socio-economic brackets.
And the third edition of Senegal-Gambian Presidential Council meets to foster stronger bilateral relations and assess mutual progress.
Our two presidents, His Excellency Adama Barrow and His Excellency Macky Sall, are ready brothers. So we must go ahead in this big and historical way to strengthening more this relationship and this cooperation as well.
Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is Tawfiq Abdul Nasser with NEWSLINK.
Many thanks for joining us. The Senegalese most influential opposition party, PASTEF, has been dissolved by the government. The dissolution of the Patriots of Senegal for Work Ethics and Fraternity of incarcerated opposition leader Ousmane Sonko was announced in a statement by the Minister of the Interior. Antoine Felix Job explains that the political party, through its leaders, has frequently called on its supporters for insurrectionary movement, which has had serious consequences. Abdullahi Hassan completes the story.
According to the Interior Minister, the resulting consequences from such insurrectionary movements include loss of human lives, many injuries, as well as acts of looting of public and private property. The government says these events constitute a serious and permanent breach of the obligations of political parties in the country. The latest are the serious public order disturbances recorded during the first week of June 2023 after those of March 2021, Felix Job said. Thus, PASTEF was dissolved by a decree which consequently authorized the liquidation of its assets in accordance with the legal and regulatory provisions in force. The announcement came after the mayor of Ziguinchor was charged and placed under a warrant by an investigating judge on Monday. The PASTEF party, created in January 2014 by Sonko, currently has 27 deputies in the National Assembly and at the end of the legislative elections of 2022 obtained 80 seats out of a total of 165 as part of the intercoalition of the opposition.
Abdullahi Hassan reporting there. Still in Senegal, analysts and citizens reacted to the detention of opposition leader Ousmane Sonko a few months before the 2024 presidential election. Arrested on Friday, the mayor of Ziguinchor was charged with 8 offenses, including inciting insurrection and undermining state security. Engulfed in multiple legal battles, Sonko's current face-off with the judiciary potentially threatens his eligibility in the next polls. This singular reason may say could spark a wave of violent protest, as already witnessed in some districts of Dakar, where vehicular and human activities were halted yesterday in anticipation of chaos. Mamadou Tour, a political analyst, speaks of a situation he says can be resolved by mediation to avoid a fallout.
In the meantime, we have six months until February next year. I mean, nobody knows. Sometimes they tell you justice is slow in its process. Sometimes they can, speed up. So nobody knows. Even for these criminal charges, I mean, we won't be surprised to see a trial before then. But I mean, if you look at what we are used to, I mean, for a criminal case, I mean, just for the instruction process, it can take years because I mean, charges are too serious. To try to look into deeply in the charges and try to get a trial in a 6 months period.
What should we be expecting in the coming days?
Maybe because maybe there can be negotiation. Nobody knows because we cannot keep on going in this tense situation. Look at, demonstrations started as soon as Sonko was sent to prison, and this is the red line his supporters cannot cope with. Mm-hmm. So, it's up to those who are in charge, and, some people in the civil society are encouraging that. It's high time to put forward the interests of Senegal, on our personal interests. Because, many people suffered from the situation, the tension between Ousmane Sonko and Macky Sall and his regime. And so far, the economy cannot cope with other havoc coming from this tense situation we have been going through over 2 years now.
Mamadou Choro is a political analyst. The sanctions imposed on Niger by the Economic Community of West African State, ECOWAS, are beginning to weigh in on the nation. The suspension of aid and support by international partners such as the European Union, Germany, and France is not the only financial shock to hit the new coup state. This is because a planned 30 billion CFA francs equivalent to $51 million bond issuance by Niger on Monday was cancelled by the Central Bank of West African State, BCAO. Oge Obierika tells us more.
Market sources said the Central Bank of West African States cancelled a planned 30 billion CFA francs or $51 million bond issuance by Niger scheduled for Monday. The Sahelian country, considered one of the world's poorest, depends on external aid and financing and was expected to issue 2 other bonds in the regional market on August 7 and August 17, 2023, according to an issuance calendar of the Regional Debt Management Agency. Recall at an emergency summit in Nigeria, the 15-nation Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, demanded on Sunday that Niger's President Mohamed Bazoum, who was ousted from power last week, be reinstated within a week. The bloc imposed sanctions on Niger, including the halt of all financial transactions and national assets freeze to try to force the coup plotters to restore constitutional order. The European Union has suspended security cooperation and financial aid to Niger, while the United States has warned that its aid could also be at stake.
Ogilvy Erika filed that report. Now Mali and Burkina Faso are warning against any military intervention against Niger. The two transitional governments insist that any such intervention would be considered a declaration of war. In a joint statement signed by the two countries and issued on Monday evening, Bamako and Ouagadougou warned that any intervention would result in Burkina Faso and Mali withdrawing from ECOWAS.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. NEWSLINK continues.
Now let's take you to the Gambia, where all is set for the third edition of the Senegalo-Gambian Presidential Council meeting. President Adama Barrow will be joined by his Senegalese counterpart Macky Sall to take stock of the progress made of the unique bilateral and fruitful relations between the sister countries. Initiated in 2018, the Council promotes cooperation in sectors such as the economy, health, security, agriculture, and tourism, among others. Ahead of today's conference, ministers from Gambia and Senegal on Monday reaffirmed their commitment to improve on the existing ties. WADR Sankule Janko, who is at the venue of the event in Banjul, as officials await the arrival of President Sall, brings details from yesterday's ministers' briefing.
The ministerial and expert meetings held on Tuesday enabled the opportunity for officials of the two countries to brainstorm to solidify the long bilateral ties between Banjul and Dakar. Aïssata Sall is Senegal's head of foreign diplomacy.
Our two presidents, His Excellency Adama Barrow and His Excellency Macky Sall, are ready brothers. As well, we too, we are brothers and sisters. So, we must go ahead in this big and historical way to strengthening more this relationship and this cooperation as well.
Her Gambian counterpart, Mamadou Tangara, held the unique relationship between the Gambia and Senegal.
Our bilateral relations today have become very comprehensive, covering a wide range of issues, and this meeting provides us with yet another opportunity to consolidate progress in our ambition for the fulfillment of a strategic partnership between our two countries.
Meanwhile, the Executive Secretary of the Senegalo-Gambian Permanent Secretariat, Alhaji Ibu Boy, urged both foreign ministers to create working groups for cooperation.
With regard to the status of the Senegalo-Gambian Permanent Secretariat, I wish to suggest to the two foreign ministers to set up a working group which will look into the strengthening of this interstate institution.
The Senegalo-Gambian Presidential Council was initiated by President Adama Barrow and President Macky Sall to strengthen the already existing bilateral relations and boost socio-economic development of both countries. Cooperation between Banjul and Dakar includes trade, economics, defense, energy, security, and education, among others. For NEWSLINK on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sankulashenko reporting from Banjul.
In his first national address, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu delivered a comprehensive roadmap to revitalize the nation's economy. The blueprint prioritizes the healthcare, education, and security sectors. The head of state unveiled a series of ambitious initiatives and financial allocations designed to drive economic growth and improve the overall welfare of Nigerian citizens. As WADR's Usman Umar reports, Tinubu's speech came amid economic turmoil occasioned by the fuel subsidy removal.
President Tinubu in his national address emphasized the significance of investing in healthcare, education, security, and sustainable development. One of the key highlights was the allocation of 75 billion naira or $100 million for a period of 9 months to identify and support 75 enterprises with high growth potential. The initiative aims to kickstart economic growth and create employment opportunities.
The federal government is working closely with states and local governments to implement interventions that will cushion the pains of our people across socio-economic brackets.
To foster small and medium-sized enterprises, that is SMEs, and ensure financial inclusion, Tinubu's government is providing 1 billion naira or $1.3 million United States dollars of accessible loans at a 9% interest rate with a repayment period of 60 months. Another 125 billion naira, equivalent to $164 million is earmarked to boost local economies and promote entrepreneurship at the grassroots level, as well as support nano businesses. The disbursement plan details 50,000 naira or $100 each to 1,300 businesses across the 774 local government areas of Nigeria. The head of state also pledged significant support to farmers to address the issue of food security in his comprehensive roadmap for revitalizing Nigeria's economy. As promising as it sounds, President Bola Tinubu's address has come under the lens of development economists and citizens alike. Leslie Archison, for his part, says,
This is not the first time a president of Nigeria is promised. We just hope that this promise don't go the same way with other promises. We also hope that what the president has just made as utterance to Nigerians today follow the line.
As the country awaits the implementation of these measures, the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, who have threatened to commence a nationwide strike on August 2nd over what they consider to be continuous hardship occasioned by the fuel subsidy removal, are yet to make public their views and what they would do going forward. For NEWSLINK on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
You're listening to NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. The Senegalese government dissolves the most influential opposition political party after incarcerating its leader, Sonko. Bamako and Ouagadougou threaten withdrawal from ECOWAS if military force is deployed in Niger. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu outlines a series of immediate interventions to revitalize the economy after failed subsidy removal. And the third edition of Senegal-Gambian Presidential Council meets to foster stronger bilateral relations and assess mutual progress. Still ahead is the press review, guest interview, and sports updates. Stay with us.
You are listening to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal.
Trade unions in Ghana have expressed disappointment over the mid-year budget read by Ghana's finance minister. On Monday, Ken Oforiatta presented the financials of the country in Parliament after several postponements. Ahead of the presentation budget review, the Association of Ghana Industries, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, and other trade unions had called for a full review of the tax regime for business. The high taxes, they say, are increasing their cost of production, cost of business, and reducing their purchasing power as they run into losses. From Accra, Atiwin and Bella Lawson reports.
As part of the IMF conditionalities, Ghana is expected to improve her tax to GDP by taxing rightly, widely, and comprehensively. During the budget on Monday, the Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta did not request any supplementary budget and made it apparent that taxes were not going to be reviewed downward. This has angered some trader unions who say the status quo will not cause any significant support to their businesses or provide an enabling environment for trade. Mark Abuaje speaks for the Association of Ghana Industries.
I personally do not see anything so significant that will cause a change in the business environment as we were asking for. All the taxes that we complain about are still there. The COVID-19 tax that we asked that should be scrapped is still there. The yield levy is still at the current rate of 1%. The excise duty is still there. And then the growth and stability levy is still there. The VAT is still as high as almost 22%.
On his part, Dr. Joseph Obeng, president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, says though disappointed, he's optimistic that the 2024 budget to be read in November will be better.
The finance minister had actually hinted us that there were not going to be taxes and that nothing much was going to be changed, a mid-year review, and that is just a supplementary budget. And that's going to engage with the stakeholders till the November budget, where they will factor some of our input.
Reporting for NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Atiewin Imbila Lawson in Accra.
This is the newspaper review. Stay on top of the news. Get the most important stories with added insight and concise review.
This is the newspaper review.
Darlington Popper in Monrovia joins us now with the major headlines from the Liberian dailies.
For August 1 edition of Press Review, we have 4 newspapers from Liberia. They are the News newspaper, the New Democrat newspaper, the Front Page Africa newspaper, and the Hot Pepper newspaper. The News newspaper is our first stop. ECOWAS places military on allied, orders democratic return in Niger. We see the photographs of scores of military personnel on the front page of the News newspaper. LACC nominees suffer setback. Opposition senators refuse confirming them. We will leave it right there. Money agents exploiting government of lawful revenue. A call for reform in the mining sector. On the back page of the News newspaper, CBL increases monetary policy rate to 20%. Allow Senate to take charge. Pro tempore chair tells senators seeking re-election. World Bank new country manager arrives. From the newspaper, the New Democrat newspaper is next. Kundau's elections results. We see the photograph of Joseph Yuma Boakai, the standard bearer of the Unity Party, along with his running mate Jeremiah Kun on the front page of the New Democrat newspaper. Liberia suffers full security. Slaughter's contradictory appointment backfires on the back page of the New Democrat newspaper. Political parties end the campaign funding training. AstraMeta suffers violent attack. Jetty tells other businesses to be patriotic. In the bid to combat hunger in post-conflict Liberia, former Indian Honorary Consul General Mr. Yusuf Jasiva Shanda, commonly known as Jetty, provided hot cooked meal to nearly 3,000 citizens in Monrovia on July 26. We will leave it right there. From the New Democrat newspaper, we will stop now with the front page Africa newspaper with the headline, Liberia is food insecure. We will leave it right there. Still on the front page of the front page Africa newspaper, where is justice? And we see the photograph of several survivors of the Lutheran Church massacre on the front page of the front page Africa newspaper. On the back page of the front page Africa newspaper is all about sports. From the front page Africa newspaper, the hot pepper newspaper is now our last stop for today's edition of Press Review. Tension brews in Unity Party camp. Prince Johnson to request UP to withdraw candidates against MDR. CBL increases monetary policy rate to 20% to strengthening Liberian dollar. With that, we conclude this edition of Press Review. But before we go, these are the newspapers we actually followed on today's edition. We followed the newspaper, the New Democrat newspaper, the front page Africa newspaper, and the hot pepper newspaper was our last stop. On that note, thank you so much for following Press Review, and bye-bye.
That was Darlington Popper with Press Review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our focus for this afternoon's guest interview centers on the Senegalese government's decision to dissolve the highly influential opposition party, PASTEF. The announcement regarding the dissolution of the Patriots of Senegal for Work, Ethics and Fraternity, led by the incarcerated opposition leader Ousmane Sonko, was made by the Minister of the Interior, Antoine Felix Job. According to Job, the party's leaders have consistently called on their supporters to engage in insurrectionary movements, resulting in severe consequences. Now, as the populace ponder what lies ahead for Ousmane Sonko in the upcoming elections on February 25, 2024, we are joined by Ibrahim Akan, an expert in regional governance. Let's get his insight on the matter.
To be frank with you, I was really surprised with the decision to really ban PASTEF because in the Senegalese political history, there have always been a big problem between ruling parties and the opposition. Abdoulaye Wadr was accused of many things, even for the killing of former vice president of our constitutional court. But this didn't really lead to the ban of PDS. So what I'm saying with all of that is that the decision to ban a political party is so important, is so really decisive in the making of the Senegalese democracy, that this decision may have very severe consequences for the Senegalese democracy.
Right. The populists have also argued that they think the government is taking a step in the right direction because according to Antoine Felix Job, that is the Minister for Interior who gave the information, he said the reason for the government taking this action is because the party supporters have been called by the party leaders for insurrectionary movements, which, according to him, has had serious consequences on the country. Don't you think the government is taking a step in the right direction, according to what the populists think?
Well, you're talking about political parties. You're talking about actors that always try to seduce the citizen and to mobilize the citizen. Yes, there are some expressions, there are some words that are maybe very strong, but it's within the political system. The political system should find a way to stop the proliferation of bad statements and other things related to the party. But that cannot lead to banning a political party. You know, a democratic system is a system where people can say things, and if the executive is not happy with the way that they've said it, the executive can use the judicial system, can use the tools that are in the democratic system to stop the political parties from expressing those views for doing those issues, you know. But just because some people have expressed views, some people belonging to a political party have said things in another way, you want to ban the whole political party?
Right. February 25 is just around the corner, is, let's say, 6 months away. And looking at what is happening regarding PASTEF leader Usman Sonko. So what do you think may become of his presidential ambitions?
There are a lot of hurdles at the moment about the realization of his ambition of not only being a candidate but also being in Senegal. So he's currently in custody. He will face trials. But technically speaking, as long as the sentence is not definitive, Sonko has the possibility to be a candidate. You know, you can't, because to me, when you look at what is happening, it's still the ideas that Macky Sall uses in the past by saying, I will reduce the opposition to its meaningless expression. You know, that's the kind of thing that is happening. You cannot have a democratic system without a strong opposition. Opposition helps the state to function.
So, like you mentioned in your submission, that opposition is definitely needed in a democracy. Opposition is needed to put the government on its toes. But should we still condone opposition even when it puts the country in security threats?
This is a very good question. You know, what put the country in threat? Is it the attitude of the opposition, or is it the way the executive is treating the opposition that forced the opposition to behave like that? I think it's everything. You can't have a democratic system where everything that the ruling party does is good and everything that the opposition does is bad. No, it cannot be like that, because the executive can do bad things, the opposition can do bad things.
Ibrahim Akan is a regional governance expert. And in the world of sports, Lushomo Mwemba scored the fastest goal at this year's Women's World Cup, and Barbara Banda added the 100th goal in tournament history as tournament newcomer Zambia earned its first ever win with a 3-1 victory against Costa Rica on Monday. And that's it for sports. We have come to the end of this edition of NewsLink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to our listeners in the Gambia via Hot 104.3 FM and in Nuni FM 94.0 Banjul, in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM Lofa County. We also thank our listeners in Ghana on Radio Part 95.1 Savannah region and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi. Christian Mukidi has been on the console, and Mustafa Sek has been streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. Do interact with us via social media platforms, Twitter, now X, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. I am Tofik Abdel Nasir. Good afternoon.
News, talk, music. Get it all 24 hours on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar.